Your mind is the most powerful tool you will ever possess, yet for most people, it is also the most dangerous weapon they will ever face. The mind was created to serve you, to obey your direction, and to act as an instrument for creation. But when left undisciplined, when allowed to wander without purpose or guidance, it becomes the master and you become its servant. Most people spend their lives being ruled by thoughts that were never consciously chosen, fears that were never questioned, and beliefs that were never examined. They wake up each day reacting to whatever the mind decides to feed them, unaware that they have surrendered control to something that was always meant to be under their command. The uncontrolled mind has no sense of direction. It simply moves with the strongest current of emotion. It will drag you toward anger when someone offends you, toward fear when challenges appear, and toward doubt when you dream of something greater. It doesn't care about your purpose or your goals. It only follows the path of least resistance. The truth is, your mind is like an untamed horse, magnificent, full of power, capable of carrying you to the highest heights, yet dangerous when left wild. You can't reason with it, you can't ignore it, and you can't outfight it. You must train it. You must teach it to obey, to focus, and to align with your intention. Otherwise, it will use its strength against you. From the moment you wake up, your mind begins to speak. It tells you what you can't do, what might go wrong, and why it's better to stay comfortable rather than take a risk. It offers a running commentary on your life, and if you're not aware, you begin to believe that voice is you. But it's not. That voice is simply a collection of old patterns, memories, fears, and inherited beliefs that have been programmed into your subconscious through years of repetition. When you don't control your mind, you are essentially being controlled by your past. Every doubt, every hesitation, every limiting belief you carry has roots in old mental conditioning. The uncontrolled mind does not seek truth. It seeks familiarity. It clings to what it knows, even if what it knows keeps you small. You can see this in everyday life. Think of the person who says they want to lose weight but can't resist the comfort of unhealthy habits. Think of the person who dreams of success but procrastinates every opportunity away. Think of the one who knows they are capable of more but always talks themselves out of trying. In each case, it's not a lack of ability, it's a lack of mental control. The mind whispers excuses so convincingly that they sound like logic. It tells you it's not the right time, that you don't have enough, that failure is too risky. And because most people never question these thoughts, they mistake mental noise for wisdom. But imagine for a moment what would happen if you truly mastered your mind. If you could direct your thoughts the way an artist directs a brush, deliberately creating what you want rather than reacting to what you fear. Imagine waking up and telling your mind where to go, what to focus on, and how to serve you that day. The difference between the uncontrolled and the disciplined mind is the difference between chaos and creation. One is random, reactive, and restless. The other is intentional, calm, and constructive. The uncontrolled mind is a storm. The trained mind is a compass. When your mind is left unchecked, it magnifies your problems. It replays past failures, exaggerates your insecurities, and projects fear into the future. It takes a small inconvenience and turns it into an overwhelming crisis. It invents imaginary scenarios that drain your energy before you've even faced the real challenge. You see, the mind does not know the difference between what is real and what is vividly imagined. So when you think of failure long enough, your body begins to feel the same stress and fear as if it's happening right now. That's why so many people live in constant anxiety. They are suffering not from reality, but from the stories their uncontrolled mind is telling them. The human mind is meant to be your greatest ally, but without direction, it becomes a relentless saboteur. It tells you to chase pleasure over purpose, comfort over growth, and safety over success. It feeds on distraction, jumping from one thought to another, leaving you exhausted and unfocused. And in that state, you lose clarity. You can't see your vision clearly because your inner world is cluttered with noise. When you try to think creatively, it interrupts with worry. When you try to be still, it bombards you with restlessness. It's like living in a house where the television never turns off, always playing scenes of what you don't want to experience. To understand how deeply the mind can control you, think about how difficult it is to sit silently for 5 minutes without letting a single thought distract you. Most people can't do it. Within seconds, the mind starts to wander. It revisits old memories, creates imaginary conversations, or pulls you toward future worries. That's what happens when the tool becomes the master. You begin to serve your thoughts rather than use them. You chase them, analyze them, and wrestle with them instead of standing back and directing them. Your mind was designed to follow commands. Whatever you consistently think about, it begins to move toward. But if you don't give it instructions, it will create its own. It will focus on fear because fear is easy. It will replay pain because pain is powerful. It will search for problems because problems feed its need for stimulation. Unless you step in and lead, the mind will always choose the familiar over the beneficial. It will keep you safe, but it will never make you great. It will protect you from discomfort, but it will also shield you from growth. The mind is not your enemy. It only becomes one when it's left unsupervised. An uncontrolled mind does not mean an evil mind. It simply means an untrained one. Like a wild garden, if you don't cultivate it intentionally, weeds will take over. Those weeds, fear, doubt, procrastination, and self-pity, grow effortlessly. They don't need encouragement. They thrive in neglect. And once they take root, they strangle every seed of potential you try to plant. That's why the first and most important task in life is not to conquer the world outside, but to conquer the world within. Until you do, every external victory will be temporary because your uncontrolled mind will eventually sabotage what your efforts create. The most intense battles you will ever face are not fought on fields or in boardrooms. They are fought inside your own mind. Every human being carries within themselves a battlefield, a war zone where thoughts clash, emotions collide, and decisions are constantly contested. The outer world may present challenges, but the inner world determines how you respond to them. Your mind is the arena where fear fights courage, doubt fights belief, comfort fights ambition, and negativity fights potential. Most people fail to realize that the outcome of these invisible battles defines the quality of their lives far more than anything external ever could. Every fear you allow, every negative thought you entertain, every moment of indecision is a battle lost in the unseen realm of your own mind. And until you recognize the intensity of this internal warfare, you will continue to surrender control to forces you cannot see while believing that life itself is the enemy. Your mind is constantly at war because it is a battlefield of conflicting energies. One part of you desires growth, achievement, and fulfillment, yet another part clings desperately to comfort, familiarity, and safety. This is why so many people live lives far below their potential. They are torn in two, unable to resolve the conflict between what they want and what they fear. The mind does not rest. It is always strategizing, analyzing, and projecting. It constantly weighs past experiences against imagined futures, trying to convince you either to take action or to retreat. And if you do not intervene with conscious awareness, your mind will almost always default to the path of least resistance, because it seeks survival over expansion, comfort over challenge, and predictability over possibility. Every emotion you feel is amplified by the battleground inside your mind. Anger, resentment, envy, anxiety, and despair all rise not because of external events alone, but because your mind dwells on them, magnifies them, and entertains them repeatedly. The mind is like a lens that distorts reality, showing you what you fear rather than what is true. If left uncontrolled, it will create scenarios of defeat before the battle has even begun. It will convince you that you are incapable, that opportunities are unattainable, and that your dreams are unrealistic. You begin to act not from courage, but from fear, not from confidence, but from hesitation, not from purpose, but from confusion. The battlefield inside your mind is relentless because it is fueled by repetition, habit, and the illusions of familiarity. Every thought is a soldier on this battlefield. Some thoughts are loyal, disciplined, and aligned with your highest intentions. Others are insurgents, working secretly to undermine your progress. You cannot afford to ignore the presence of these rogue elements. Every unexamined belief, every assumption accepted without question, every negative self-talk is an enemy combatant that waits for the opportune moment to strike. They infiltrate your decisions, sabotage your efforts, and plant seeds of doubt that grow into mountains of fear. This is why mastering your inner world is so critical. It is the only way to ensure that the soldiers you deploy in the mind's arena are working toward the life you desire rather than destroying it from within. Consider how often external events trigger internal conflict. Someone criticizes you, and suddenly a flood of self-doubt overtakes your thoughts. You imagine failure, replay past mistakes, and question your abilities, all because the mind has allowed an external spark to ignite an internal inferno. Or perhaps a new opportunity appears, and instead of feeling excitement, you are seized by hesitation. imagining every possible obstacle, every potential rejection, every conceivable way it could go wrong. The external world did not cause your paralysis, your mind did. It projected the worst-case scenario, magnified risk, and convinced you that safety is the only path. And this is the way the uncontrolled mind subtly turns minor challenges into internal wars. Wars that prevent you from achieving the greatness that is already within you. The battlefield inside your mind is not limited to fear and doubt alone. It is also a constant negotiation between past and future. Your memories fight for attention, replaying every disappointment, every failure, every moment of regret. Meanwhile, your imagination projects future threats, sometimes real but often exaggerated, always demanding your focus and energy. And because the mind cannot distinguish between what is real and what is imagined, it reacts with the same intensity to both. You feel the pain of memories that no longer exist and the anxiety of futures that may never arrive. Every moment spent in these mental conflicts is energy drained, focus lost, and potential wasted. Victory in this internal war requires awareness, strategy, and discipline. You cannot win a battle you do not understand exists. The first step is recognizing that your mind is not a neutral observer, but an active participant in your life's outcomes. Once you see the battleground clearly, you can begin to take command. You can choose which thoughts to feed and which to starve, which emotions to honor and which to release. You can begin to deploy mental resources with precision, using the power of focus, intention, and conscious choice to turn the tide of internal conflict in your favor. The war inside your mind is ongoing, relentless, and unforgiving, but it is also winnable. Every day, every hour, every moment presents an opportunity to assert control, to realign your thoughts, and to claim victory over the forces within that threaten to hold you back. Every thought you allow to linger in your mind carries power far beyond what most people realize. Thoughts are not fleeting, meaningless whispers. They are seeds planted in the soil of your consciousness, each with the potential to grow into something monumental or destructive. When you dwell on doubt, fear, or failure, you are watering seeds that will inevitably produce a harvest of limitation, frustration, and missed opportunity. Conversely, when you nurture thoughts of possibility, courage, and determination, you cultivate a mind fertile with success, resilience, and achievement. The truth is, your life is nothing more than a reflection of the seeds you consistently plant in your mind. Each day, you are either sowing carefully chosen seeds that align with your dreams or leaving your mental garden unattended, allowing weeds of negativity to take root and dominate. Most people do not understand that every thought carries a vibration, an energy that shapes not only the way they perceive the world, but also the way the world responds to them. When you entertain thoughts of fear, insecurity, or self-doubt, your body responds as though those thoughts are real. Stress hormones surge, your focus narrows, and your energy becomes misaligned with your goals. Over time, these repeated thought patterns create habits that shape your actions and decisions, often without conscious awareness. You begin to live in a self-imposed limitation, believing that life is happening times to times you rather than being shaped by the very thoughts you choose or fail to choose. The mind is deceptive in its subtlety. Negative thoughts rarely arrive as glaring, conscious decisions. They creep in like shadows, almost unnoticed until they dominate the mental landscape. A single thought of inadequacy may seem harmless at first, but if repeated, it strengthens neural pathways in the brain, conditioning you to act in accordance with it. Doubts multiply quietly, self-criticism becomes a constant companion, and hesitation turns into inaction. Before long, the seeds you allow to grow in your mind manifest as tangible limitations in your reality. The process is gradual, almost invisible, yet the consequences are profound. What most people fail to see is that the quality of their external life is entirely dependent on the quality of the thoughts they cultivate internally. Positive thoughts work in the same way, though most people underestimate their power. When you consistently entertain ideas of possibility, envision success, or imagine solutions rather than problems, your brain begins to align itself with those outcomes. It filters your experiences, highlighting opportunities, attracting helpful resources, and guiding your actions toward constructive results. Just as weeds take root in neglected soil, positive seeds flourish in a mind nurtured with intention. But unlike weeds, these seeds require conscious effort. They must be deliberately planted, watered, and protected from the encroachment of negativity. This is why mental discipline is not optional, it is essential. The mind left to wander without purpose will always default to fear, limitation, and self-sabotage, because those are the easiest paths. Consider how ordinary thoughts can evolve into extraordinary outcomes or disasters over time. A thought as simple as "I can't do this" may seem inconsequential in a single moment, yet if repeated daily, it forms a belief that becomes an unbreakable barrier to achievement. Similarly, a thought like "I am capable of more" might initially feel fragile, but if nurtured consistently, it grows into confidence, initiative, and unstoppable momentum. This is why the concept of thought as seed is so powerful. The mind does not discern between positive and negative in terms of intensity. It simply nurtures what you feed it. Every day, in every conversation, in every fleeting mental moment, you are either strengthening your dreams or reinforcing your limitations. Thoughts are not static, they multiply and compound. One thought gives rise to another, creating a chain reaction that can either propel you forward or hold you back. Negative thoughts breed more negativity. Positive thoughts breed more positivity. The mind is like a mirror, reflecting back to you whatever you focus on. If your mental garden is filled with weeds of criticism, blame, and fear, your reality will inevitably mirror that chaos. If it is filled with seeds of gratitude, creativity, and determination, your reality will blossom with opportunity and growth. The power lies not in fleeting inspiration, but in repeated, deliberate thought, the consistent cultivation of ideas that align with your highest goals. It is also essential to understand that thoughts are not merely abstract, they are instructions sent to your subconscious mind, which does not judge or question. Your subconscious will act on any thought you give it, whether constructive or destructive. When you ruminate on failure, it works to make failure inevitable. When you dwell on limitations, it organizes your behavior and circumstances around those limitations. This is why mastery of thought is so critical. By intentionally directing your mind, you are essentially instructing your subconscious to work in harmony with your conscious desires. By neglecting your thoughts, you surrender the power of your subconscious to random, uncontrolled mental impulses, which almost always operate against your interests. The human mind, when disciplined and intentional, is capable of creating outcomes that seem miraculous. But the first step is recognizing the profound truth that every thought is a seed. A careless thought is the beginning of limitation. A deliberate thought is the beginning of growth. Every idea you entertain, every mental image you visualize, and every internal conversation you engage in contributes to the life you ultimately create. The mind does not differentiate between what is imagined and what is real. It acts on the instructions you give it, faithfully manifesting the seeds you plant, whether they are seeds of fear or seeds of greatness. Most people move through life as if they are passengers on a train they cannot control, unaware that the tracks, the speed, and even the direction are determined by the mind inside their own skull. Awareness is the first and most crucial step in taking command of your mental faculties, yet it is the step most neglected. Without observation, without conscious attention, the mind operates like an autopilot programmed by past experiences, fears, habits, and societal conditioning. It reacts instinctively rather than deliberately. Thoughts arise, emotions surge, and behaviors follow almost without your conscious participation, leaving you convinced that the world itself is forcing you into patterns that, in reality, are of your own making. The moment you begin to watch your own mind, to observe its tendencies and its habitual responses, you begin to interrupt the unconscious programming that has been running your life for decades. Awareness is not passive, it is active engagement with the most intimate, powerful tool you possess. To be aware of your thoughts is to place a spotlight on the machinery of your mind. You begin to notice patterns, thoughts that repeat, assumptions that guide decisions, automatic emotional reactions that shape behavior. Most people never see these patterns because they have never paused long enough to reflect. A fleeting moment of irritation, a sudden wave of fear, a pang of self-doubt, these are all signals from your mind that you must pay attention to. By noticing these signals, you create a space between stimulus and response, between the appearance of a thought and the action that follows. This space is where freedom resides, where you can decide whether to obey the mind's impulses or to redirect them in alignment with your goals. Without awareness, every thought you have, every emotion you feel, and every action you take is dictated by habit, conditioning, and old mental programming. Awareness also reveals the subtle ways the mind undermines you. It shows you the moments when you unconsciously allow fear to dictate your choices, when hesitation replaces initiative, when you are replaying old memories rather than living in the present. By simply observing, you strip these tendencies of their power. You begin to recognize that the voice of doubt, the pull of procrastination, and the surge of anxiety are not absolute truths, they are signals, patterns that can be interrupted, questioned, and changed. Awareness transforms the mind from a relentless force acting upon you into a tool you can consciously direct. It allows you to separate yourself from your thoughts, understanding that you are not your mental chatter, but the observer of it. The process of cultivating awareness is not instantaneous. It requires patience, discipline, and consistent practice. Meditation, journaling, reflection, and intentional pauses throughout the day are methods that allow you to step back and witness the inner workings of your mind. Each time you notice a negative thought before it gains momentum, each time you catch yourself slipping into habitual fear, you strengthen your capacity to respond deliberately rather than react impulsively. The more consistently you observe, the more quickly you can intercept destructive thought patterns before they translate into actions that hinder your growth. Awareness becomes a muscle. The more it is exercised, the stronger it becomes. Eventually, you begin to notice not just the overt thoughts, but the subtle undercurrents, the quiet assumptions, the hidden fears, the invisible limits you have imposed on yourself. Awareness is also essential because it illuminates the gap between your current mental state and the reality you wish to create. Most people live in a fog of autopilot thinking, unable to see that their limitations are self-imposed. They complain about circumstances, blame external forces, or justify failure, all while remaining unaware of the thoughts and beliefs that are actively shaping their outcomes. By becoming aware, you see the truth. Your reality is a direct reflection of your inner landscape. You begin to identify the beliefs that no longer serve you, the fears that constrain you, and the habits that divert your energy away from purpose. Observation allows you to diagnose the root of your challenges, rather than merely treating symptoms or blaming external events. Awareness also opens the door to conscious choice. Once you recognize the patterns in your thinking, you can begin to intentionally redirect them. You can replace fear with faith, doubt with certainty, distraction with focus, and negativity with constructive thought. The mind, once understood, becomes a responsive instrument rather than a chaotic force. You are no longer at the mercy of impulses, emotions, or old programming. Instead, you can guide the mind toward the outcomes you desire. Every thought becomes intentional, every decision deliberate, and every action aligned with a conscious vision. Perhaps most importantly, awareness allows you to see the mind as it truly is, a tool, not a master. Without awareness, the mind masquerades as an authority, convincing you that its immediate impulses, habitual fears, and ingrained patterns are absolute truths that must be obeyed. When you observe it, you see that it is merely a mechanism, capable of incredible creativity, focus, and problem solving, but only when directed. The moment you cultivate awareness, you step into a new level of empowerment. You begin to see the triggers, the loops, and the automatic responses that have been shaping your life. Awareness transforms reactive existence into proactive living, chaos into clarity, and passivity into mastery. The path to mastery begins with nothing more than conscious attention. Every thought you notice, every pattern you examine, every reaction you witness is a step toward control. It is in this consistent, deliberate observation that you reclaim the mind's power and begin to harness it for your highest good, transforming it from an unpredictable enemy into an unwavering ally capable of shaping the life you desire. Discipline is the bridge between thought and action, between desire and achievement, and it is the single most powerful tool you can wield to create freedom in your life. Most people misunderstand the concept of discipline, thinking it is a form of restriction, a rigid system of denial and deprivation. They fear it, resist it, or view it as a burden to their comfort. Yet true discipline is not about limitation, it is about control, mastery, and intentionality. It is the ability to direct your mind, your emotions, and your behaviors toward the outcomes you desire, regardless of the distractions, temptations, or impulses that surround you. When you gain discipline over your inner world, you are no longer a prisoner of circumstance, fleeting emotions, or wandering thoughts. You become the architect of your destiny. Discipline creates freedom because it replaces chaos with order. The human mind left unchecked is a storm, constantly shifting, reacting, and creating turbulence in your life. Thoughts jump from worry to fear to doubt, emotions surge without warning, and actions are inconsistent at best. This lack of control produces frustration, wasted energy, and stagnation. When you introduce discipline, you create structure within that chaos. You decide where your focus will go, which emotions you will honor, and which actions you will take. You set the parameters for your mind and behavior, and within those parameters, the mind becomes a reliable tool rather than a chaotic adversary. Freedom does not come from doing whatever you want. It comes from doing what aligns with your purpose and vision. Discipline is the vehicle that allows you to navigate that alignment consistently. The disciplined mind does not react impulsively. It responds intentionally. Most people live in reaction to the world. They are tossed by every circumstance, every criticism, every challenge. Their emotions dictate their behavior, and their lack of mental control ensures that they are constantly at the mercy of external events. But discipline interrupts this cycle. It gives you the ability to pause, assess, and choose your best response. Instead of being carried away by fear, anger, or doubt, you decide consciously how to act. This creates a form of freedom that cannot be taken away by others, because it originates from your inner command rather than external validation or circumstances. When your mind is disciplined, you are free from the tyranny of your own untrained impulses. Discipline is also the engine of consistency, and consistency is the cornerstone of success. Without discipline, intentions are fleeting and efforts are scattered. You may have moments of motivation, bursts of energy, or flashes of inspiration, but without a disciplined mind to sustain them, those moments fade into nothing. Discipline allows you to follow through, to take the small, deliberate actions that compound over time into extraordinary results. It is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. The freedom that comes from discipline is not the freedom to act recklessly, but the freedom to act reliably and persistently toward meaningful goals. Every act of discipline strengthens your mind, reinforcing the habit of intentional thought, deliberate action, and unwavering focus. Another essential aspect of discipline is its ability to align your subconscious mind with your conscious intentions. The subconscious is a powerful force. It shapes your habits, drives your emotions, and influences your behaviors in ways you rarely perceive. Without discipline, your subconscious continues to operate according to old patterns, fears, and conditioning, often sabotaging your conscious efforts. But when you discipline your mind, you consciously feed it the thoughts, images, and beliefs that serve your purpose. You replace old, destructive programs with new, constructive ones. This alignment between conscious and subconscious thought is the key to effortless action, unstoppable momentum, and a life lived in harmony with your vision. Discipline is not punishment for the mind. It is training that allows the mind to function as it was always meant to function. The practice of discipline is visible in every successful person's life. It is not talent, luck, or circumstance that differentiates the extraordinary from the average. It is the ability to consistently apply effort, maintain focus, and direct the mind toward desired outcomes. Discipline allows you to wake up each day with a plan, execute it with precision, and overcome the inevitable obstacles that arise. It enables you to resist temptation, endure discomfort, and continue when others quit. Without discipline, natural ability is wasted, opportunities are missed, and potential remains unfulfilled. With discipline, the mind becomes a loyal ally, focused, strong, and unwavering in pursuit of your goals. Discipline also transforms adversity into advantage. Life is unpredictable, and challenges will always arise. Without discipline, these challenges become sources of despair, frustration, and chaos. But a disciplined mind sees obstacles as opportunities, maintains composure under pressure, and continues to act toward the desired outcome despite circumstances. Discipline provides the mental resilience necessary to navigate uncertainty, to remain steadfast when emotions fluctuate, and to maintain control over your thoughts even when the external world is chaotic. The freedom gained through discipline is not freedom from challenges. It is freedom to act effectively and intentionally in the midst of them. Finally, discipline is cumulative. Every act of self-control, every moment you choose to think deliberately rather than react unconsciously, every habit you cultivate with intention strengthens your capacity for mastery. It becomes easier to maintain focus, resist distractions, and stay aligned with your goals over time. The mind grows stronger, sharper, and more capable. What once required immense effort becomes automatic, and you move through life with a clarity, confidence, and freedom that can only come from the disciplined mind. Discipline is not a restriction, it is liberation. It is not punishment, it is empowerment. It is the ability to harness your mind, your energy, and your actions in alignment with your highest purpose, creating a life of freedom, focus, and unstoppable momentum. Everything you experience in the outer world is a direct reflection of what exists within your inner world. Your external circumstances, your career, relationships, financial situation, health, and even your level of happiness are mirrors of your predominant thoughts, beliefs, and mental programming. Most people fail to see this because they are so focused on the physical results they want, believing that changing the outside world will somehow automatically change their lives. Yet, true transformation never begins externally, it begins internally. The mind is the operating system of your life, and until it is programmed to generate constructive, empowering thoughts, any effort to change the outside world is like planting seeds in barren soil. The outer world responds to the internal world with precision. It does not lie, it does not negotiate, and it does not forgive laziness or inconsistency. The subconscious mind is the intermediary between your thoughts and your reality. Every belief, assumption, and pattern stored in your subconscious acts as a filter through which you interpret life. If your subconscious is dominated by fear, doubt, or scarcity, your external experiences will inevitably reflect these limitations. Opportunities will appear blocked, challenges will seem insurmountable, and success will feel perpetually out of reach. Conversely, if your subconscious is filled with beliefs of abundance, possibility, and capability, the world begins to respond in kind. Doors open, relationships flourish, opportunities multiply, and seemingly impossible achievements become possible. The key is to understand that the world does not shape your inner state shapes the world. Your results are never random, they are the inevitable outcome of the mental instructions you have been giving yourself, consciously or unconsciously. Most people try to force change externally while leaving their internal landscape untouched. They change jobs, move to new cities, buy new possessions, or seek external validation, hoping these actions will create lasting satisfaction. But without transforming the mind, these changes are temporary at best. The same fears, doubts, and limiting beliefs that existed before will inevitably manifest again, producing similar outcomes in new circumstances. True transformation requires turning inward, examining the thoughts and beliefs that govern behavior, and intentionally reprogramming them to align with the life you wish to live. Until the mind changes, the external world cannot permanently change. The internal world is the blueprint. The external world is the construction. Your thoughts are powerful instructions. They tell your subconscious mind what to seek, what to notice, and how to respond. When you think of scarcity, your mind scans your environment for evidence that supports scarcity. When you think of success, your mind searches for opportunities, solutions, and strategies that bring that success into reality. This is why it is crucial to be vigilant about the nature of your thoughts. The mind does not discriminate between imagination and reality. It acts on the most dominant ideas you feed it. Negative or limiting thoughts, if repeated, become self-fulfilling prophecies. Positive and empowering thoughts, if nurtured consistently, become the foundation for extraordinary achievements. The outer world simply reflects the inner programming, faithfully manifesting the seeds planted in your consciousness. To reprogram your inner world, you must first become aware of the beliefs that are running in the background of your mind. Many beliefs are subconscious, formed over years of experience, education, and societal conditioning. They operate automatically, influencing decisions, actions, and perceptions without conscious recognition. The first step in transformation is awareness, identifying the thoughts that are keeping you limited. The next step is deliberate replacement. Every limiting belief must be consciously challenged and replaced with a belief that supports growth, abundance, and possibility. This is not a passive process. It requires repetition, visualization, affirmation, and action. You must actively cultivate the mental environment that supports the life you desire. The power of reprogramming is seen in every area of human achievement. Athletes visualize winning before stepping onto the field. Entrepreneurs imagine solutions before they are developed, and leaders rehearse success in their minds before it materializes in reality. These individuals understand that the mind precedes matter, that the outer world cannot outpace the inner world. By shaping their thoughts and beliefs first, they create a reality that reflects their vision. This principle is universal. Anyone who learns to master their inner world will see their external world transform as a natural consequence. The mind is always working, always creating, always manifesting. Your job is to guide it deliberately toward the outcomes you desire, rather than leaving it to run on autopilot. When you begin to consciously reprogram your inner world, you will notice subtle shifts that eventually create profound changes in your external life. Challenges that once seemed insurmountable become opportunities. Relationships that were fraught with tension improve as your perception and reaction change. Your capacity to attract abundance grows because your mind is now aligned with possibilities rather than limitations. Every thought, belief, and emotion now serves a purpose, supporting the reality you are determined to create. The outer world becomes a mirror, faithfully reflecting the state of your inner world, reinforcing the principle that change always begins from within. Ultimately, transformation is not about changing the world to suit you. It is about changing yourself so that the world naturally aligns with your vision. Your external reality is simply a manifestation of the inner reality you cultivate. Every success, every failure, every circumstance is the outcome of your internal programming. To change your life, you must first change your mind. To elevate your circumstances, you must elevate your thinking. The inner world is the soil. The outer world is the harvest, and the quality of that harvest is determined entirely by the care, intention, and cultivation you apply to the seeds planted within your consciousness.